number 10. Space Godzilla. You know, when the original idea of Mechagodzilla came about, you'd think they couldn't get more ridiculous than the evil robot doppelganger of Godzilla. But no, Space Godzilla had to come along and one-up them, because it's the evil version of Godzilla, but from space! Space Godzilla is a kaiju that basically is the idea that came from, well, a lack of ideas. What the hell can we do with Godzilla now that we're in this deep of the Heisei era and we need a new monster? I don't know, how about Godzilla, but he's from space. But that being said, while the Soul movie isn't very good, Space Godzilla himself has, well, he's a really interesting kaiju in terms of just what they have done with him. It would have been very easy to just basically make another Godzilla, but he looks a bit more spacey. But no, they've given him his own abilities, identity, and personality. Space Godzilla isn't a brawler like his Earth-like brother. No, he's more of a ranged attacker, he's more of a strategist. Space Godzilla, because of the giant crystals on his shoulders, can barely move his arms, meaning he has to rely on range attacks, energy beams, and strategy. He can't brute force it like Godzilla. And his abilities are where most of his imagination lies. He's got telekinetic powers, he can spawn and summon crystals, he can fire his crystals at people, he has so many energy beams, he can just pick up Godzilla and throw him around with the power of his mind. His vast array of abilities make him one of the most powerful kaijus in the Godzilla universe, but also makes him extremely vulnerable when they don't work or he has no energy to do it anymore. He's also the kaiju with the most obvious weakness. I mean, you don't need to play many boss fights to know what the obvious weak points of Space Godzilla are. It's also his use in other media has been very interesting. He basically became the main villain of the Pipeworks trilogy. While not appearing in the Soil Monsters, he was the main villain of Save the Earth and Unleashed. He definitely has a popularity. While I don't think he can ever truly be the final definitive villain, the most powerful villain of any Godzilla universe, he will definitely always be up there as one of the most dangerous and one of the most threatening. But yes, this is Space Godzilla, Godzilla's evil brother. From space. And number 10. Number 9. Mechagodzilla, the original and some would say the best. Mechagodzilla comes in at number 9, which is actually a surprise to me. I definitely expected this Mechagodzilla to be the highest ranking Mechagodzilla. But no, he just comes in at number 9. The last of Toho's Big Five, Mechagodzilla is just one of those ideas that can be implemented and changed for whatever the writer wants it to be. In this case, Mechagodzilla is basically the standard Showa affair of the evil invading aliens, and this is their monster. Well, it's actually a robot this time that they're going to use to take over the world, and it just so happens to look like Godzilla. And for some reason in the first movie they decided to disguise it as Godzilla, and they never give a reason why they did that. Seriously, rewatch Godzilla vs Mechagodzilla. They never explain why Mechagodzilla was dressed up as Godzilla in the first place. And this Mechagodzilla is by far and away the most brutal Mechagodzilla. Not only what he did to best boy Anguirus, but also his 2 fights with Godzilla are probably some of the worst injuries Godzilla's ever suffered, especially in Godzilla vs Mechagodzilla. I mean, I don't think we have ever seen Godzilla covered in this much blood before or after this movie. His just simple array of weaponry just makes him so awesome. One of the best moments in all of Godzilla is when he just unloads all his weapons at once in his all-weapon attack. The music combined with the sheer spectacle of just all these explosions coming out of this suit is just really, really incredible. Really, in a way, you could say Mechagodzilla saved Godzilla, because the movie before Mechagodzilla was Godzilla vs. Megalon, and that is what I would consider the lowest point in the Godzilla franchise. Not in terms of movie quality, because I actually love Godzilla vs. Megalon, but more in terms of just where Godzilla was as a franchise at this point. Toho was close to bankruptcy, they made the movie incredibly cheaply, and everyone just hated it. It just seemed like this was going to be the last hurrah for Godzilla, and it's going to be the last death spasm. But then they decided to just cut the bullshit, and for Godzilla's 20th anniversary, make one of their most ambitious movies yet. And they certainly did that. In many ways, Mechagodzilla became one of Toho's big five because he saved Godzilla. And that does usually seem to be the habit with Godzilla movies, depending on whatever the era is, well, our era's starting to slump a bit, let's drag out Mechagodzilla. They did it in the Showa universe, they did it in the Heisei universe, they did it in the Millennium universe, and by the looks of things they're going to be doing it in the Monsterverse. Yes, Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla 1 and technically Mechagodzilla 2, even though he's not Mechagodzilla 2, he's Mechagodzilla 1-2. The last of Toho's big five and the first of the mechas. And number 9. Number 8. Biollante. This was one of the biggest surprises for me. I really underestimated Biollante's popularity. I definitely expected them to be in the 20s to 11s. I did not expect Biollante to get into the top 10, and at number 8, and came very close to beating one of Toho's biggest names. I definitely think Biollante's popularity has come in recently. If I did this countdown 10 or so years ago, I don't think Biollante would be anywhere near as popular, but that was because of the wide release of Godzilla vs. Biollante on DVD, and the movie being reappraised as one of the best in the entire franchise. And as for Biollante, well, she's just one of the most ambitious kaijus that Toho have ever made. In my opinion, the fully formed Biollante outfit that they used for the final fight is the best outfit Toho has ever made. There is just so much work and detail and just impressive feats that they accomplished with this suit. It's a shame it's only on screen for about 5 minutes. Biollante is also one of many firsts for the Godzilla universe. Biollante is the first plant-based kaiju in the Godzilla universe. Biollante is also the first Godzilla kaiju that was created by splicing Godzilla's DNA, which is something that they will do a lot of from here on out. Which is something that ends up happening quite a lot. And also Biollante is one of the more tragic characters, created basically by the desperation of a scientist trying to save his daughter. And Biollante, you could say, is one of the most neutral kaijus ever, because it's never really been established what side Biollante's on. Godzilla is a force of nature and not on anyone's side, but Biollante is not good nor evil. Like Godzilla, she's very much in the middle. She's also one of the biggest kaijus of all time, not including all the different versions of Godzilla, and is definitely a kaiju I want to see come back in some form, hopefully in Singular Point. She definitely looks like she would fit right in with the designs of Singular Point. But yes, this is Biollante, what you get when you cross a plant, Godzilla's cells, and your dead daughter. Number 7. Rodan. Another one of Toho's big five. Rodan comes in at number 7, which is interesting because considering how popular Rodan seems to be, being that, like all the other big five, he has appeared in every single era of Toho movies, Rodan is definitely a good kaiju. He's a very basic kaiju. He's really just a giant pterodon. I don't think personally he's had that many great moments himself. He's been in many great movies, but as a kaiju as himself, he hasn't had those great standout moments. I think the best moment Rodan has ever had is when he dropped Godzilla from the sky. Every other appearance, he's sort of just been a backmarker. He's there and it's happy to see him there, but he doesn't really do much. I mean, in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, he just spends the entire movie massively outclassed and getting his ass kicked. But Rodan, like Anguirus, we'll get to him. Main popularity, I think, lies in the fact that he is one of Godzilla's most loyal allies, even though he has been a villain more than he has been a bad guy when fighting Godzilla. But anyway, when you think of Rodan, you think of him as a good monster, a good Earth Defender monster who is on the side of humans. It's why people were a bit upset that in Godzilla King of the Monsters he was a villain. People expected him to be on Godzilla's side and he wasn't. And also, like in most of Rodan's appearances, he was sort of a backmarker and afterthought. But his design, unlike most kaijus, has remained fairly consistent. He is basically a giant pteranodon, and he may or may not get a beam depending on which area you're in. I definitely like Rodan. I especially like Fire Rodan as well. He's one of the few kaijus to get a power up. He's not one of my top 10 favourites, but I can understand why so many people like him, and that's why he's number 7 on this list. Number 6. Mecha Godzilla 3! And here we have the final mecha of the list, and the most popular Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla 3 is such a very, very well designed Mechagodzilla. He is just brilliant. He looks like Mechagodzilla from the Showa and the Heisei era, but has also his own unique design. He is also the Mechagodzilla I think is the most realistic. When you look at robots, and especially how we are getting with robots now, I could definitely see Mechagodzilla being built this way. And also the idea of him being made out of the skeleton of the first Godzilla is just inspired. Whoever came up with that idea is just genius. Let's give Mechagodzilla a more personal connection when fighting Godzilla. Really, my one criticism of Mechagodzilla 3 would be that in the 2 movies he is featured in, he has been a bit too overpowered. But I also think that's due to the fact that the Kiryu Saga Godzilla is probably one of the weakest. Mechagodzilla 3 also strikes the perfect balance between weaponry and hand-to-hand combat. I really do like the fact that he sort of starts as a super Mechagodzilla with all the weaponry and the backpack, but then he gets rid of it to become faster and more agile. I also like in the first movie they give him one of the most destructive weapons in all the Godzilla universe, but it was so unreliable. In the next movie they get rid of it for something that is less powerful but more reliable, and is also much more effective. I also really liked the idea of Mechagodzilla remembering that he's Godzilla because of Godzilla's DNA and memories getting into the robot, causing him to go berserk. Unfortunately, they don't really do much with it in the movies. That's a great idea that definitely could be explored with another Mechagodzilla later down the line. Sort of like, well, we built Mechagodzilla to kill Godzilla, but oh god, he's gone out of control. What do? Well, we have to use Godzilla and hope that he can destroy the thing that was built to destroy him. Mechagodzilla 3 is definitely the coolest Mechagodzilla as well. He just looks so sleek, so just cool. He has that coolness factor about him. So yes, that is Mechagodzilla 3. I would probably say he's my favourite Mechagodzilla, and he is also your guys' favourite Mechagodzilla, as he is the highest ranked mecha on this list, but only number 6, meaning he just missed out in the top 5. Number 5. Mothra. Another big surprise. Mothra is definitely one I expected being in the top 3. Being in the top 5 is definitely a high ranking, but with how popular Toho seems to think Mothra is, and she is, being that she has been in so many Kaiju movies and so many Godzilla movies, you would think she would be number 2 or even number 1, but she is in number 5, which also means out of Toho's big 5, only 2 of them are actually in the top 5 according to my fans. Very interesting that. Much like Mothra. I do really like the idea with Mothra how she's evolved with the times. At first she was worshipped as a god and was seen as a godly protector kaiju, and she was, but that has evolved over the years to become more that she is actually a goddess. She has a great connection with the planet and is the defender and goddess of all life on Earth. She is no doubt the queen of the monsters. She is a very unique kaiju in the way that she is not a kaiju of evil. She is not meant to be dangerous and deadly and destructive. She is meant to be the embodiment of good. She is a protector. She only fights when she has to. She isn't like Godzilla where she will attack because there is something in his territory or he needs to consume or he's just evil. Mothra is, by all intents and purposes, a god. It could also be argued that Mothra is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful kaiju in the Godzilla universe, because when it comes to her fighting Godzilla when he is seen as king of the monsters, she has probably the best fight record when it comes to fighting Godzilla. She has beaten him on numerous occasions. That is Mothra. She is the most pure and good monster that there is in the Godzilla universe, and that's why probably so many people love her. Even if she is a bit overused, it is nice to see her. But then again, I think it's time she got her own movies again, instead of being forced into Godzilla movies over and over again. If she is so popular as Toho like to say she is, then surely she should be popular enough to stand up on her own. Who knows, maybe Toho will finally get out of their rut of putting King Ghidorah, Mothra and Mechagodzilla in all the movies all the time. It's a foolish dream, but I can have it. Number 4. Gigan! The edgiest kaiju ever. Well, literally, I mean, look how many sharp points he has. Gigan is definitely a fan favourite for obvious reasons, because he's just such a cool and unique looking kaiju. He's got swords for hands. How can you not love that? Well, Gigan's original Showa design is, well, it's a product of its time. It's a little bit goofy, but still, it's got a bit of style, and he definitely looks like a threat, while at the same time also a little bit goofy. I mean, also considering in his first movie appearance, he sort of laughs and chuckles and has a bit of sadistic side to him. And he also has the honour of being the first kaiju to make Godzilla bleed. But I definitely think Gigan's main popularity has come from his appearance in Godzilla Final Wars, where they updated his design and just turned him into one of the coolest, if not the coolest kaiju ever. The black and red, or is it dark blue and red, design with just so many spikes and so many weapons just makes Gigan look such a badass. Which is interesting considering what little screen time he has and how he, well, fucks up on all his occasions. But this design has become so popular, it has sort of become the new default design for Gigan. And then just to make things even more awesome, they gave him chainsaw hands. If you want to just make the most insane kaiju ever, just take Gigan and just do stuff with him. There's been fan designs with him having guns. There's also his appearance in the anime trilogy books, which is probably one of the best kaiju stories ever. They made Gigan a good guy and then start him off as a normal kaiju that slowly got more and more parts of him replaced from being injured by Godzilla to the fact that he turned into a cyborg and then just a flat out robot. And it's probably one of the most tragic stories ever told in any kaiju media. And then you also have his appearances in the games, and then you also have his appearances in the comics, where he starts off as the Showa design, and then when it comes to Rulers of Earth he gets upgraded and becomes the Millennium design. And just look at how awesome he is. He's definitely a product of the more kid-friendly side of Showa when he was created, but they have adapted that and made Gigan just an absolute badass. There is no wonder why he's become so popular. And he only has 3 movie appearances, which is odd considering how popular other kaiju are, and they have way more movie appearances than he does, but he only has 3. Let's hope he has more soon. But that's Gigan, number 4 and our edgelord. Number 3. Anguirus! Oh yes, my favourite kaiju outside of Godzilla has taken the bronze medal, which is funny actually because when I did the Ultimate Fan movie countdown, my favourite Godzilla movie, Godzilla GMK, also got 3rd place. Starting to be a pattern there. But yes, this is Anguirus, Godzilla's best friend. He's just the best boy. How can you not love Anguirus? He isn't the strongest or has the most powers or has even a beam attack, and has actually not won a fight by himself, but he's probably one of the most determined and lovable kaijus there has ever been, because you just can't help but root for him. He has been a villain twice, in Godzilla Raids Again and Final Wars, but in both times you don't feel like he's the bad guy. His place belongs at Godzilla's side. He has the distinction of being the first kaiju Godzilla ever fought, and also is widely considered his closest friend and ally. He was also one of many Godzilla kaijus who were supposed to have many movie appearances, but never did. He was supposed to be in Godzilla vs. Destroyer, or what originally was going to be Godzilla vs. Destroyer. He was also supposed to be in my favourite Godzilla movie, GMK, but was replaced by King Ghidorah, and was also supposed to be in the Kaiju saga, where he would fight Mechagodzilla, in a repeat of the first time Mechagodzilla appeared in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, where Mechagodzilla 3's first fight would be against Anguirus, which he would probably have lost as usual. But yeah, Anguirus has got this reputation of being an underdog and also Godzilla's best friend, and it just makes you love him and root for him more. Maybe one day he will finally get that victory on screen by himself. We can only hope. I really hope he does, because he's my favourite kaiju. He was one of the first kaijus I ever saw as a kid, and I just can't help but love him. You definitely get the feeling that this is Godzilla's best friend. If Godzilla ever needs an ally, Anguirus will be there, by Godzilla's side until the end. And that's the way it should always be. And that's Anguirus, number 3 on our list, taking the bronze medal. Kinda fitting in a way. Number 2. Destroyer! Taking the silver medal is probably one of the most evil and definitely one of the most strongest kaijus ever made in the Godzilla universe. Destroyer! What a perfect kaiju to finish off the Heisei era. Because they could have done the easy route and just had Godzilla fight another monster from the past, but they didn't go that way. Instead they decided to create something new and just something so awesome. If Godzilla's too powerful, then what do you make that could possibly take down the King of the Monsters? Well, how about making something out of the one thing that killed Godzilla? The Oxygen Destroyer. Destroyer just looks satanic. Pure evil. And he is pure evil. In his one movie appearance, he's just sadistic, seeming to take joy in causing harm for Godzilla Jr. and Godzilla, and also all the humans that get in the way. He actively seeks out people and wants to hurt them and kill them. I mean, consider what they did to fish in an aquarium. They could do that to any life form they choose, which could be argued that Destroyer is one of the smartest kaijus that there is, since seeming that he seems to take joy from what he's doing. He is pure evil. It's also said that the perfect form that we see in Godzilla vs. Destroyer at the end may not actually be the final evolution that Destroyer can do. It is hinted that if he could evolve even more, which, bloody hell, what could be even more powerful and evil than this? I definitely hope he shows up in Singular Point. There were rumours going around that he would appear in the Monster Universe, but I don't think he's popular enough outside of the Godzilla fandom to warrant being brought into a movie. But hopefully when Toho start making Godzilla movies again, he makes an appearance, because just look how awesome he is. He is just a perfect final villain. Please bring him into Singular Point. I want to see what a Singular Point design of Good Destroyer could be. Maybe give him his chest beam that he was supposed to have in his movie and they even shot a scene for but never used. But I mean, Destroyer is powerful enough as it is. He's able to carry Godzilla around just by his tail. He has a laser horn. I mean, yes, Destroyer lost, but this was also when Godzilla was in his burning form, when he was at the peak of his power. Which means that it could be said that if Godzilla wasn't in his burning form, that he wouldn't have stood a chance against Destroyer. Hell, it's argued that Destroyer is more powerful than King Ghidorah and Mothra, and is clearly way more powerful than Space Godzilla. He takes the silver medal in this place, but my god, I hope he appears in movies later on just to solidify his sheer evil in his presence as being the most evil and most powerful kaiju that Godzilla has ever fought. But that means Destroyer is second place, and I think we all know who was taking the first place. I mean, it wasn't really going to be any doubt who was going to take first place, was it? Number 1. King Ghidorah! Well, Godzilla is the king of the monsters. Well, there's more than one king. King Ghidorah is Godzilla's arch nemesis, his most recurring villain kaiju, and for good reason, because he is just such a different kaiju to Godzilla. Instead of making Godzilla's arch nemesis another version of Godzilla, they made King Ghidorah completely different. King Ghidorah is so powerful the lack of arms don't hold him back. His gravity beams and wings can just do the job. Godzilla has always needed help, whether it being from other kaijus or human intervention, to take down King Ghidorah. These two have a rivalry that is one of the oldest and longest in all of cinema. Batman has Joker, but it could be argued that King Ghidorah and Godzilla have been fighting each other for longer than that. As the Doctor once said, you can always judge a man by the quality of his enemies. And well, Godzilla isn't a man, but you can definitely judge him on the quality of his enemies, and King Ghidorah stands high and mighty above all others as Godzilla's arch nemesis, the king of Godzilla's enemies. No matter where Godzilla goes, King Ghidorah will always be close behind him, and they will always face off. No matter what's going on, if King Ghidorah is a good guy that one time, or a bad guy, or if Godzilla's a good guy, bad guy, or anti-hero, these two will always face off against each other. Godzilla is the king of the monsters, and King Ghidorah is the king of all evil. It's very interesting how different interpretations of King Ghidorah have lasted through the years. I definitely think the Showa version is my favourite interpretation, but not my favourite design. I like how King Ghidorah is just a planet destroyer. He goes from planet to planet just destroying all life, just for the fun of it, it seems to be. There's no real reason given apart from the fact that he just wants to do it. He wants to assert his dominance on the universe. True evil personified. And if true evil is a golden dragon with 3 heads, then so be it. That's a pretty good look for true evil. And that is King Ghidorah, number 1 on the list, and the winner of this survey. I mean, it wasn't really going to be much of a surprise. I mean, Christ, he took the most votes in first, second and third. I'm definitely going to do another one of these. It's probably going to be for the best Godzillas. Do a survey for the greatest Godzillas, from worst to best as always. Because there have been more than one Godzilla, in not just eras, but also in designs, personalities, and just all around appearances. And we'll get to that someday. But as for now, the list is over. King Ghidorah is your winner. And if you enjoyed this list and all the other parts, be sure to subscribe, comment, and I have a Patreon if you want to subscribe, if you want to, support me and all that sort of stuff. And I am Alex the Hunter, and I will see you guys next time. Oh crap! This means I have no excuse not to review Gamera Super Monster. I have to review it now. God damn it!